Hi everyone, welcome back to another video in Azure AZ-300 series. In this video, we will cover the topic of Azure blueprints. So here's what you can expect. First, obviously, we'll cover theory, what Azure blueprints are, where they can be used, what are they used for, when did they get invented, when are they being put in GA. After that, we'll talk about blueprints lifecycle. What can you do with them basically, how you can apply them, what are the artifacts. Then we'll talk about sequencing. Once blueprints are being applied, and if you are applying new ones or old ones, modifying or deleting, in what sequence do artifacts get created or modified? That's very important to know. And then after all this talk, we're going to do a demo and explain or show how you can do all of this in Azure. All right, let's start. So theory. Azure Blueprints is Azure service which allows to define a package of artifacts. As you can see, artifacts are defined as resource groups, RBACs, policies, and ARM templates, which can be targeted to one or multiple subscriptions to create consistent and repeatable environments. Azure Blueprints can pass parameters to either Azure Policy or to an ARM template. Azure Cosmos DB is backing Azure Blueprint service and replicates to multiple Azure regions to provide a high availability. Therefore, it is also globally available service. One of other globally available services is Azure DNS, for example. Also Azure Traffic Manager. Um, and these are important because they're not specifically tied to a region, and that means you can deploy them almost anywhere. So let's see what a Blueprints lifecycle is all about. As you can see, you can create a blueprint in Azure portal by adding artifacts to it. Let's first see what really artifacts are. I mean, I know I mentioned it earlier in the theory, but um, Blueprints artifacts can be resource groups, ARM templates, policy assignments, role assignments that all belongs to something that's called an artifact. So once you create an artifact and you save it to a management group, if you're not sure what management groups are, take a look at the video number 4 where I explain what management groups are. So this is one video before that. This saves a blueprint and allows for edits in draft mode. When the blueprint is ready, you will publish it, allowing the blueprint to be versioned, locked from edits, and ready to be assigned to a subscription. That's very important because once you apply the blueprint to a subscription, the blueprint will then do what it's supposed to do. So it will either have a policy assignment or role assignment, or it will create a resource group. Um, you can always make changes in a draft mode and republish to create a new version. That's very important. Versions can be always deleted if they are no longer needed, or entire blueprints can be also deleted with all the versions. However, you cannot delete a core blueprint or a version if it has an active assignment. Obviously, if blueprint is in use, it cannot be deleted. Uh, Published uh, blueprints can then be assigned to a subscription where the artifacts will be deployed. As blueprints updates are published, the changes can be subsequently assigned. What happens to already deployed blueprints resources? When a role assignment modifies or gets modified, then a new role assignment is created, and the old deployed role are left in place. And if a parameter is updated or changed of a policy assignment, then only the old assignment is updated. But if the definition of a policy assignment changed or removed, then a new assignment is created and the old deployment is left in place. Let's slightly cover that part. So what happens in sequencing? Um, if no directive is defined, sequencing is as follows. First, role assignments are deployed using blueprints, then policy assignments, then we'll have ARM templates, and then the resource groups. So at this point, let's talk about what gets deployed first, or what gets sequenced first. As I said, you have as number one, if there's no specific sequences created or no directive, so role assignment. Artifacts are sorted by artifact name. Remember that. If there is no directive, it literally goes from A to Z. Then we'll have a policy assignment, again, sorted by artifact name. ARM templates are sorted as well by artifact name. And then resource group, this is now where the trick is, they are sorted by a placeholder name. And let me repeat, so what happens to already deployed blueprint resources? So if they already exist, when a role assignment is modified, then a new role assignment is created, and the old deployed role are left in place. And this is all happening because of the lock that's in the place. So if the role assignment is created and it's live in production, it gets a lock, so you can't really modify it. The new one is created. If a parameter is updated or changed to of a policy assignment, only the old assignment is updated. But if the definition of a policy assignment is changed or removed, then the new assignment is created and the old deployments are left in place. All right, I hope that all makes sense. It will be clearer once we see the demo, once we kind of start playing with blueprints. I just want to capture at one place what different type of artifacts we have, how they are deployed, what's the life cycle, and then also how the sequencing works, because sometimes you need to know what gets deployed first if there's no definition and what gets deployed second or last. So let's get to a demo. Okay, so let's see how that looks like in the portal, how you do that in Azure, how you create a blueprint and what you can do with the artifacts. So let's first go and find the services of blueprint. So here, as you can see, I have not created any blueprints, or basically I've deleted all my old ones. But let's create a blueprint together and see what you can do with it. So let's click a create button on the blueprint. The nice thing about these blueprints, and to be honest with you, I use this a lot, is, for example, you have already samples of the blueprints that have artifacts in place that have, let's see, let's create a resource name, for example, blueprint, and location, let's put it in pay-as you go. All right, let's see how the artifacts look. Select. See how the artifacts look like. So this is what I want to show you. So these samples of the blueprints already have a defined resource group. They have so they have a defined resource group, how it should be called, and then it's ending with RG. The location you can define later, and you can add some parameters over here. But more importantly is it comes with an NSG, and here's the code. here are the parameters, and here's the ARM template that you can use multiple places. Or if you have already ARM templates, that's a beautiful thing about blueprints is you can put them or input them in here, so you can use your already selected rules. The most important part is to follow the API version to kind of use the newest one. But you have VNet, and then you have an NSG, and then you can add more. But forget all of this. Um, this is just an example. As the next one, as you can see, so there's CAF Foundation. So this is a sample of Cloud Adaptation Framework for Azure. So there's multiple different types of um, blueprints that you can apply that have been already used and tested by Microsoft multiple times. But in our particular case, and I think this might happen very often, is you're going to start from the beginning. So you're going to start with a blank artifact or a blank blueprint. So let's call this my first blueprint. It's nice if you put a description. It's can be very useful. It will make a difference for other people as well as you, is if you play around, and I like to test things around, and then I have 10, 15 different blueprints, and sometimes I forget because my naming convention sometimes is just by default. So I like to put this descriptions just so I can understand. So uh, first ever blueprint created live. And I'll put in the subscription. Let's now check out, oops, select. Let's now check out the artifacts. So we have 0 artifacts that are created for this blueprint. And as we mentioned, if you remember, there are 4 types of artifacts that you can have. It's policy assignment, role assignment, Azure Resource Manager template, and or ARM template, and then resource group. So let's take the simplest one. Let's take a policy assignment. And I don't know, this is the fastest one. This is the easiest one to understand. Let's ensure that HTTPS is used on all web applications. This is a simple artifact that will make sure that all of your web applications use HTTPS traffic only. So let's save the draft. All right. So now that when the draft is saved, this is where you can go and see. Here you go. This is the list of some blueprints or some drafts that you have created. You can create more, as you can see, and then create multiple drafts here. But let's see what you can do with this. You can edit the blueprint. You can publish the blueprint. So once you publish the blueprint, it becomes available. If you remember the big circle that I have showed earlier, let me show where this is. So this is the actual life cycle. So if you remember this, this is the portion we are in. So we have created a draft. Now we are in getting into the published version or a published version of the blueprint and artifacts where we can afterwards assign them. We can delete them or go from there. But we have accomplished adding an artifact or creating a blueprint, adding an artifact. We saved it. We created a draft mode. We have edited if we want to edit it. And then we now are going to version it and publish it. It's important to know. So because we picked a predefined, there's nothing to edit here, but in case if you do, you can edit a certain blueprint. But now let's see what happens when you want to publish it. It's asking you for the version. Let's call it a version 1.0. Obviously, it's the first one. This is nice. You can add notes. Sometimes it's trivial. Sometimes it's very important, especially if you work in a bigger team. This could be very, very useful. But very first version of first artifact. First blueprint. Let's publish this. So because the time of publishing of a blueprint and artifacts depends on how many artifacts you actually have within the blueprint. Obviously, if you have a simple single one, it's going to be much faster than if you have multiple artifacts. And now, once you have published it, you can see latest version. If you have unpublished changes, so if the code changes, if some of the artifacts change here, you're going to see the different stuff. But let's see still. So there's nothing still assigned. There's one little trick we have to do. We're going to assign, or we can edit or delete. As you can see, there are multiple options, but we are going to assign this blueprint. And there is an important fact here. So you can choose the location. Let's leave it as West US. You can choose to put the lock or not. And this is the explanation of what that lock does. It basically keeps it secure that it doesn't get changed. And more importantly here is, do you want to keep this artifact or this blueprint in audit mode, or do you want it to be disabled? So if something doesn't fulfill the criteria of the blueprint, do you want just a notification, or you want that resource to be disabled? It's very important. So if we click assign, it'll create, or it will assign your blueprints to your management group or to your subscription. I have currently only one subscription to it. And that's pretty much it. You can see then the list of assignments. So what did we do here? We have created a blueprint, a very simple blueprint with some of the artifacts in there. This blueprint, as you can see, has an artifact that has a web application only using HTTPS traffic. And after we have created the definitions, we have then assigned that blueprint to my subscription, and you can see here what is the subscription is being assigned to, and we basically have assigned it to only one subscription in my scenario, but this is the entire life cycle that we have filled with creating one of the blueprint artifacts and making sure that it's assigned to the right subscription, to the subscription that we want to be assigned to. This is pretty much everything about the blueprints. I would encourage you to, as I did, create a very simple pay-as-you-go subscription and then play with your blueprints just to understand them better, what you can do. But this can be a very powerful tool if you want to recreate certain tools or certain rules in your subscriptions so the entire organization can follow them. I would advise you do this first in test environments before you move to the upper or higher environments in your organization. With that, this is the end of the video. So we covered the blueprints, we covered what the artifacts are, what you can do with artifacts, we covered the blueprint lifecycle, and then we had a demo where we showed how to create a very simple blueprint and how to assign it to the actual subscription. Thank you very much, and stay tuned for more videos.